What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so look, of course, much of today, the speculation is about LeBron James, the Lakers, after that surprise loss to the Raptors, and a second consecutive subpar LeBron James performance. The speculation is LeBron starting to get old, okay? And to me, you know what I'm saying, I've been saying for a while that I've seen some slippage in his game. From the peak that I saw of him from his Miami Heat days and maybe the first 2 years of his Cleveland comeback. I would say since 2016-17, I've seen a slight decline, very slight, you know what I'm saying? Like, sort of like the same slippage I saw in Kobe maybe the year before he suffered his injury. Somewhere around that time, 2012 into 2013 is when I first started seeing like a little slight decline in Kobe, but he still had a great year up until that injury. With Mike, I saw a decline in him physically. It was almost kind of, not even, well, it was very noticeable during his comeback. The 18-month layoff, you could see a decline in his athleticism. Arguably, you could actually see a decline in his athleticism in 92, 93. But definitely, by 95, 96, there was a decline in his athleticism, but he was still a tremendous player. So this leads me to LeBron James, of course. It's about right on time. As a matter of fact, LeBron was able to stave it off longer than the other guys, maybe because of, you know, the modern day treatments, wink, wink. But it's there. This is a guy that's been in the NBA since he was 18 years old. And he's now 35. And later on this year, he'll be 36. It was inevitable that he was going to start slowing down. Now, is some of it because of the layoff? You know, the guys have been off for 4 months or whatever it is. Maybe a little bit of it. Is some of it because, you know, he's been playing, you know, defense more so than he's accustomed to? Perhaps, but the problem is this. Physically, LeBron James' tank is starting to run a little bit empty. Not empty, but it's less than halfway. The problem is this, and this is some of the things that we warned about. Ticket TV, Mahari, myself, I think LB talked about this, maybe even Town. The problem is you have a guy that's 35 years old in LeBron James. Beginning of season 34. 35 years old now. He's 6'9". He's 200 and I don't know what he is now. 265, I'll just say. And he's playing a position that normally is reserved for younger players, smaller players, faster players. He's having to guard, you know, younger guys. And sometimes, you know, a lot of times he's being guarded by younger guys, you know what I'm saying, from the other side of the court all the way down. And that is nerve-wracking for a guy like him who's 6'9", and you're being guarded by a smaller guy. And you got to keep your dribble away from that guy because you don't want him to disrupt your dribble. You're trying to run the offense, trying to do all these different things. And it's wearing you down. Okay? Remember, when Magic Johnson came out of retirement, he played point forward because he was at that time 6'9", 255, much heavier, and he was older. He was 36. going on 37 when he came out of retirement. LeBron's not that much younger. Okay? And LeBron's playing all of these heavy minutes at this pace. You know, this is a much faster paced league than it was 10, 12 years ago when LeBron was at his athletic marvel the first time with the Cavaliers. When he could handle doing something like this. Remember how Michael struggled when Scottie was out, those 44 games, I think it was, or whatever it was, after the ankle surgery, at the beginning of 97, 98, he had to do everything. He had to be a scorer. He had to be a playmaker. He had to pretty much try to run the offense out there. And it was wearing him out. And he needed Dennis Rodman's help as far as leadership is concerned. LeBron is not, and LeBron has the ball even more so than Mike. Okay? That's wearing him down. And this is the problem with why I've always said, and others, that it would have helped LeBron James' game enormously if he had learned to play off the ball and be effective off the ball, and also learned how to be a post threat. It would have saved him so much energy. You see what I'm saying? It would have saved him so much energy in the long run. I'm now starting to have some issues. I mean, aside just from the Laker issues, Frank Vogel is not a very creative coach. Their offense is very pedantic and predictable. And smart coaches, I think, will outcoach Frank Vogel. And I agree with something Town Biz says. At this point, maybe it's not a coronation for the Lakers. Maybe the Clippers, even though they lost the other night, they did not have two of their best players. It still was a close contest. So maybe the Lakers are not as strong as I thought they were. Or then again, maybe this is just a two-game aberration and LeBron's going to come back and score 45. But I don't think so. I think Tiki TV was right in something he said. I think that at this point, the LeBron James that we knew, who would consistently score 27 a game, is going to start becoming a thing of the past. And that happens. Look, I remember that 97-98 season with Chicago. And I remember watching Jordan that year. And that was the first year I really saw significant slippage in his game. He was starting to become a shot jacker. He was starting to become a volume scorer. He was starting to have like really bad shooting nights. And he was starting to have nights where he did not look like Michael Jordan. Don't get me wrong, he still had some brilliant performances, but he was starting to become a little bit more inconsistent. And by the Wizards years, he was no longer a guy putting up 29, 30 points per game. I do believe had he not got hurt, though, that he would have been putting up 25 points a game. All right? But I think that injury that he suffered to his knee and to his rib cage took something out of his game. And, he was not as... Michael became, primarily a jump shooter by that time. He was just he was purely a jump shooter by that point. But I don't know what LeBron's numbers are going to look like by the end of the year, but the 27 a game, LeBron, I don't know if he's still going to be able to do something like that on a consistent basis. But it's not hating on LeBron. It's just it happens to everybody. It happens to every great player that's played this game. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Kareem his last few years, the last 2 years, he looked terrible, especially the last year. Kareem was a shell of himself. Robert Parrish's last year with the Bulls was a shell of himself. Moses Malone, the last few years of his career, was a journeyman and no longer resembled the Moses Malone of 10 years before, when he was putting up between 28, 29, 30 points a game plus and averaging 15, 16 rebounds. He was a beast. A beast. You could argue that he was perhaps even more dominant in some ways than Shaq. But he was a journeyman toward the end of his career. So that's pretty much all I got to say, man. You know, tell me what you guys think. And let me say this too, man. You know, there are people that just read titles and, you know, just read the comments and they look for confirmation bias that you're a hater. And you're a hater, when in reality I'm a realist. By no means am I saying that he's done as a player. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that increasingly, especially you'll see it next year. Hopefully there's a season next year. His level of play consistently will probably begin to diminish somewhat. Okay, that's what I'm saying. And it happens to everybody. It happens to all the greats in every sport. Where they're talking about, you know, Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Robinson, okay? The greats, Jack Johnson. Happens to everybody. Okay, baseball, Babe Ruth, you know, Satchel Paige, you know, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, you know, Reggie Jackson. Reggie probably played too long, to be honest with you. Reggie, I think, started falling apart after 83. He should have retired after 83, but he played to 87. Kareem, you know, Jordan, Kobe. It's going to happen to all of these guys. This is LeBron's 17th season. Next year will be his 18th season. He's still going to be a great player. He just may not be the same LeBron that was putting up 27 and more. He's going to have games where he put up 27, 30, 35. He's still going to have 40-point games. And you'll be like, wow, he's back. And then, you know, he's going to have an awful game. A game where he doesn't look like himself. He's going to have more of these games. Remember, it used to be a rare game. Remember, one year, man, I told you guys in a video when I was looking at his shooting games back in Miami. It was 1 year where in the I think it was something like this. In the 76 games that he played 1 year, he only shot under 50%. I think it was in 7 of them. 7. Remarkable. LeBron's had 2 games in a row where he shot under 50%. He went a whole year only with 7 of those performances. 7 years ago. But that's LeBron when he was 28, and this is LeBron when he was 35. It's understandable. Jordan had a year shooting 54% when he was 25. His last year with the Bulls, he shot 46% from the floor. Not terrible, but that's not Jordan-esque. He was getting old. LeBron's getting old. How is that hating? I don't get it. Kobe started getting old. Plus, he had the injuries. Okay? And you can make the argument that that injury that he suffered last year was the beginning of, you know, the signs of wear and tear on LeBron. So that's all I got to say, man. Tell me what you guys think.